speakers versus headphones. So good things and bad things, pros and cons. Pros, speakers, better spatial representation, and you can go beyond the stereo. For example, 5.1, Dolby, whatever, right? Atmos. Now, at the same time, it's not portable for obvious reasons, and room acoustics will gonna play a role. If it's also isolation, that's gonna be a big deal. Like back in the day, you would buy a house, it's your house, and then you do whatever you want with that house. And many of you own a house, but it's more common these days to just rent a space. And so it's not your place, and you can't build in that space. So portability, it's important. It's an asset. It's important these days. So headphones. Now the stereo field is gonna be different. You've got to get used to this if you've worked with the speakers a lot. The way you're gonna pan it's gonna feel different with the speakers and headphones. I always explain this way. The farther away your speakers, the more the room is gonna affect. Why? Well, because that sound is coming from farther away, you're gonna receive the direct sound, but also the reflections. The closer those speakers to your ears, the less reflections and more direct sound. And the closer you can get is a pair of headphones. That's sort of how it works. Now, the farther away again, the louder you will need those speakers to be because you want to hear the music. And the closer, well, this is just a pair of speakers just very close to your ears, but they are positioned in a way that's not the natural way where how we would position the speakers. They are at a very 180 degrees type of thing. The closer, in general, the lower volume, the less the room is going to affect the sound. So stereo field is going to be different. It's always stereo. We don't have surround here. There's software that can emulate that, but these days more like meh. Some people will say no, I use the waves, blah blah blah, like this plugin that emulates like a 5.1, like a surround system or an Atmos system in headphones, and as you move it simulates as if you were moving in the room. And it's yes, but my personal take on this is I want the pure sound output from my system to my ears. I don't want to do things that manipulate the sound in any way. That's how I look at this. So I don't emulate a surround system with any plugin. It's portable, room acoustics don't matter, and you can trust them no matter where you are. So I was teaching this course. I don't know this room, I don't know, and obviously each one of us need to be composing, so headphones is the only solution. And I'm not saying compose with headphones, but I'm gonna say I've composed a lot with headphones, and it is just fine. Here is the trick, or at least what I believe. Here's the trick. It's a comparison. If you are trying to emulate a type of sound and you're using headphones as reference, you're listening that sound or that mix with the same headphones that you are mixing your music with, then perfect. No problem, you can move forward, you can replicate that mix, because all the things that people will say about, well, you can't mix with headphones because blah, 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 blah. When you are listening to that track, all those problems are being translated through your headphones to your ears, type of thing. If you are trying to replicate this same type of sound with the same playback system, then you should be good to go. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, with all this in mind, like the practical approach, if you can't make any noise, if you can't have speakers, or you can't afford the speakers, or you don't like the speakers, or you can't make any noise because you're living in a shared space, like I've been in this position, right? We were 3 composers in one old 3-bedroom apartment. There's no way we can be 3 of us composing with the speakers because we will hear each other. Like literally, my speakers are here, there's a very thin wall, and then there's another composer there with the speakers face, and so no speakers, headphones. Get the best headphones you can afford. And optionally, Sonarworks reference. We'll talk about this in a second. Now, if you can't do a lot of acoustic treatment but want to have the speakers, get a pair of small near-field studio monitors. Again, small and close, rooms don't affect as much to that sound. Then get the best headphones you can afford, and always AB, because the acoustics are not going to be perfect, the speakers are not going to be perfect, so AB, always AB. The speakers are going to give you things that the headphones can't, and the headphones will give you things that the speakers can't. And also, when you've got a small system, the problem is going to be monitoring those low frequencies. You're not going to be able to reproduce those low frequencies, the real low frequencies, with a small near-field speakers, and with most of the headphones you won't be able to reproduce those frequencies either. So I always like to be monitoring those visually to see what's going on there. Optionally, again, use Sonarworks reference to calibrate the speakers and mitigate imperfect room acoustics. Basically, the way this works is Sonarworks is a plugin or software. It comes with this mic, and you just put it here. This mic comes with a serial number. You're gonna put your mic here pointing there, and you're gonna point your mic pointing there, and then here, and then here, and then here, and then here. It takes like 82 measurements, and then it measures your room. It's a step-by-step process, very simple. It's tedious, but it's very simple. And then basically what it's gonna do is gonna create the sort of like the blue line, which is sort of like, well, this is your room and this is how your room sounds. All right. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a curve that I'm gonna apply to the speakers, so it's gonna correct the response of your room in this specific sitting position, right? If you've got one of these stand-up desks that go up and down, up here is gonna be different. You have to take measurements again, but you can have 2 presets and you can switch from the sitting down to the standing. Or if you've got a client sitting on the couch, then that's another sitting position, right? It's gonna sound different. You can take measurements for that one as well. And the same thing for headphones. The headphones are not perfect. I'll talk about these headphones, which are the ones that I've used for the longest time. Very nice, a little bit bright. These are the AKJ K702. I love these guys. Now, I needed to understand that they are a little bit bright in the high end. So when I was mixing, everything sounded very open and transparent. And then when I would listen it to the car, I'm like, where's the definition here? I lost everything because the car speaker system is not a full range speaker system. That's why things sound very different in the car in the first place. When I loaded these headphones on Sonarworks, it created a curve that compensated for that brightness and made them sound a little bit flatter. Same thing with these guys, same thing with the room, etc. So they've got 2 versions, and by the way, student discount. If you are a cinematic composing student, they've got the headphones version, very cheap, and then they've got the system-wide version that includes the headphones version, and the speakers-based version comes with this guy. And so that's what I mean with the optionally use Sonarworks refers to calibrate the speakers and mitigate imperfect room acoustics. Is it perfect? No, it is not perfect. It doesn't replace a good acoustic treatment, but it mitigates the problem, and it does a very effective job, right? Now, again, the bigger and farther away the speakers are, the more the room acoustic is going to interfere with the sound. And when it comes to acoustic treatment, let's keep things practical. If it's a small room, then you're in good shape. Usually it's easier. You won't need too much treatment. Focus on absorbing low frequencies and get rid of the direct reflections. Tip: mirror. What you want to do with a small room, you're not gonna have sort of like reverb because it's too small. It can sound boxy, but you won't have problems. With a little bit of acoustic treatment, you're gonna be good to go. Here's where you wanna place the acoustic treatment. See those here? Basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna sit in your position and you're gonna have someone to hold the sort of like a mirror on the wall, move the mirror, and whenever you can see the speaker, that's the direct reflection. And you wanna put some acoustic materials, acoustic foam there, just to kill the first reflection of the high frequency that will create sort of like phasing problems with direct signal, with the reflection. That's gonna affect and change how you perceive the high frequencies depending on how you move. So you're gonna have that there, and he's got 2 because he's got a couch there back here, so he's killing the reflections from him here to the speaker and the ones for the client that's sitting behind in the couch. So for in a small room, focus on getting rid of the low frequencies, and it's gonna be that problematic. The low frequencies are just gonna cross the walls and go away. But still there's gonna be a little bit of low frequency build up in the 3-200 range. So you wanna absorb those with bass traps. All right, so that's what you wanna focus on. And then if it's a big space, low frequencies, direct reflections, the same thing here, and dampen the sound a little bit, eliminate room reverb. It should be relatively easy, just that you need to cover a relatively big space. So just cover the walls with absorbent material or acoustic panels, but you need to cover a decent amount of space. Remember curtains and moving blankets as an option as well, as a cheap option, cheap and easy option, because hanging acoustic material, it's easy, but it takes time. So for the speakers, I use these ones. For the near field, it's just Mackies up there, relatively cheap. The big ones, I like big speakers. Why I like big speakers? Because I like hearing to loud music that sounds awesome. Do I need bigger speakers? No, they are expensive as well. Those are used, old, sound beautiful, but I have them as a luxury piece of gear. That's how I describe them. You don't need those. I love them to death. I love loud sound, and especially when they are well positioned, it's just such a privilege to be able to hear high quality loud sound in a controlled environment. It's just awesome, and I like that. That's why I have them, but I don't need them. I haven't had the chance to have something like this because I didn't have the room. And when you have something like this, you have to treat the room accordingly, and it's a pain, and it's expensive, and it takes time. It's trial and error. So what I would recommend is a pair of near-field studio monitors, like the Yamaha's NS10 or something like this, okay? Or the most expensive speakers that you can afford. Get the best speakers that you can afford. I will start with near-field speakers. That's it. For headphones, I use the Sennheiser HD650, and I've used for the longest time the AKG K702. I like this a little bit better, a little flatter out of the box, flat sound. With that, I had to apply a little bit of Sonarworks reference correction for me to be able to trust them a little bit better.